I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I was married to Lisa for about 3 years. We met in college, and honestly, I thought we had a good thing going. She was smart, beautiful, confident, sometimes a little bitchy, but that's what I liked about her. She had this fiery attitude and a sharp tongue, but she knew how to turn it on and off when we were alone or with friends. We clicked, or so I thought. Things started feeling off about a month ago. Small things. She was more distant, texting more late at night. And when I'd ask her what she was doing, she'd brush it off, say she was tired or working late. I didn't push her because I figured maybe she was just busy or stressed about work. She's a marketing executive, so late nights are common. Still, I noticed she was hiding her phone more than usual, acting secretive when I got near her. She'd quickly hide her messages or turn her screen away when I entered the room. I brushed it off at first, convincing myself I was just paranoid. Then the wedding happened. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I mean, I was ready to start a new chapter with her, surrounded by friends and family. The reception was wild in a good way. Drinks flowing, music blasting, everyone laughing. But I noticed Lisa acting weird from the start. She was a little more aggressive, a little more snippy with her friends, especially her maid of honor. She kept sneaking glances at her phone, and I caught her texting someone a couple of times. I didn't think much about it during the wedding. I was too caught up in the moment, proud and happy. But something told me to watch her more closely. It was around midnight when I decided to go to the bathroom. I was walking past her table when I saw her phone sitting face down on the table. As I brushed past, I caught a glimpse of the screen. My heart skipped a beat. There were messages open, and I saw a familiar name. Mark, it said. I froze. Mark's my best friend. They'd been texting each other a lot lately, but I never thought much of it. Honestly, I thought maybe they were just catching up, but the messages weren't friendly. They were intimate, flirty, suggestive, sometimes downright explicit. I saw her talking about their plans to meet up soon, about having sex, about how they'd keep it secret, about how much she was craving him. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I couldn't breathe. My hands started trembling. I stared at her phone, trying to process what I was seeing. My mind raced. How long has this been going on? Was I blind? Did I not know her at all? It felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I was frozen. Instead, I backed away, heart pounding, trying to make sense of it all. I wanted to scream, to break something, to wake her up and ask what the hell was going on. But I didn't. I just kept walking, clutching her phone, trying to hold myself together. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the texts, the moments I thought were innocent, and how they suddenly seemed so fake. I felt betrayed, crushed, almost numb. How could she lie to me like this? How long had she been lying? And more than that, what did this mean for us? I kept asking myself if I ever truly knew her, if our whole relationship was a lie. All the trust, the love, the promises. I started questioning everything. I didn't know what to do next. All I knew was that I had to find out the truth, even if it shattered everything. The next morning, I got up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was racing, and I knew I couldn't just pretend like I didn't see what I saw. I had to confront her, but I also needed a plan. I couldn't just blow up everything without thinking it through. Still, the urge to yell, to accuse her right there and then, was overwhelming. But I knew I had to keep my cool, at least for now. Lisa was in the kitchen making coffee. She looked good, too good maybe, like she didn't have a care in the world. She was her usual bitchy self, snapping at me when I asked about her night. "You're acting weird, Mike. You're paranoid. Maybe you're just jealous, because I got more attention than you last night," she shot back, rolling her eyes. But I saw the flicker of guilt behind her eyes, or maybe it was just regret. I wasn't sure anymore, but her words only made me angrier. I waited until she was distracted, pouring her coffee, and then I grabbed her phone from the counter. She spun around, eyes narrowing. "What are you doing?" she snapped. I just stared at her, then at the screen. I saw the same messages from earlier, but this time I gathered my courage and started scrolling through more. There were dozens of texts, more than I could count, flirty, nasty, full of promises. She kept talking about how much she wanted Mark, how she was tired of pretending with me, how she hated feeling trapped. It was all so raw, so real. I could hear the betrayal in every word. She snatched her phone away and started yelling. "You're crazy, you're paranoid, you're reading too much into this," she spat, her face turning red. I didn't care anymore. I told her I knew everything. I told her I saw the texts, I saw what she was doing, and I wanted an explanation. That's when she switched from angry to defensive. "You don't understand, Mike. It was just sex. It meant nothing. It's not like I love him or anything. You're overreacting," she said, trying to brush it off like she was just some victim of circumstance. But I knew better. I knew she was lying. She kept twisting her words, saying she was stressed, that Mark was just a distraction, that I was being jealous or insecure. She played the victim, acting like I'd ruined everything by snooping. But I wasn't buying it. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she lie so easily? How could she act like this wasn't a big deal? It was all so surreal, her bitchy attitude, her lies, her cheating. I'd always admired her confidence, but now all I saw was a manipulative, selfish woman who was willing to destroy what we had just to get her rocks off. It hurt more than I can even put into words. That day, I went for a walk to clear my head. I replayed everything, trying to hold on to some part of my sense of self. I'd always wanted a faithful wife, a partner I could trust, and now that trust was shattered into a million pieces. I felt angry, betrayed, and honestly I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. How could I be so blind? How did I miss all the signs? I kept asking myself if I was really that clueless or if she was just that good at hiding it. The worst part was the feeling that I'd never really known her, not completely. She lied to me about everything, and I was left with this gnawing question: was she ever truly mine? By the end of the day, I knew I had a choice to make. I could forgive her, try to work through this mess, or I could cut my losses and walk away. But deep down, I already knew what I wanted. I couldn't stay with someone who lied and cheated, who played me for a fool. I didn't want to be with someone who made me feel stupid and broken. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at her texts on my phone, feeling the weight of everything she'd done. I promised myself I wouldn't let her destroy me, but I also knew I had to do something. I just did. Know what yet? After a restless night filled with half-formed plans and bitter thoughts, I decided I had to confront her again, but this time with a clearer mind and a better strategy. I couldn't just blow up everything again without knowing exactly what I wanted and how I wanted to handle it. Honestly, I was angry, hurt, and humiliated, and I knew I had to keep that in check. I needed answers, not just accusations. So I sat down with her in the living room the next morning. She was sipping her coffee, giving me that sly, bitchy smirk like she was waiting for me to say something stupid. "What do you want, Mike?" she snapped, crossing her arms. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I knew about Mark. I told her I saw the texts, her lies, everything. I asked her why she did it, what she was trying to prove, what she got out of cheating on me during our wedding reception. Her face twisted into this exaggerated look of innocence, like I was the crazy one. "I didn't do anything," she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "You're just jealous because I'm getting more attention than you ever did." I couldn't believe she was still trying to gaslight me, still trying to act like this was all my fault. I kept pressing. I wanted the truth, plain and simple. That's when she started her usual bullshit, saying Mark was just a fling, that she didn't love him, that it was all just sex to blow off steam. She kept telling me she was stressed, that I was controlling, that she deserved better than this. She kept saying she was the victim here and I was the one overreacting, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I couldn't stand her lying anymore. I told her I wasn't going to stay with someone who could treat me like this, that I was done forgiving her lies. I told her this was the end of our relationship. Her reaction was classic Lisa. She started crying and pleading, saying she loved me, that she'd never cheat on me, that she'd been under so much pressure. But I saw through her tears. It was all fake. It was just her way of trying to manipulate me, to make me stay out of guilt or confusion. I knew I had walk away no matter how much it hurt. The emotional impact hit me like a tidal wave. I felt crushed, devastated, like I'd been punched in the chest. My trust, which I'd thought was rock solid, was gone. I started questioning everything, her words, her actions, the memories we shared. I wondered how I could have been so blind, so naive. I felt betrayed, not just by her infidelity, but by the fact that she'd lie so convincingly, so effortlessly. It was a blow to my self-esteem, to my confidence. I kept asking myself, how could someone I loved so much do this to me? How did I miss all the signs? I thought I knew her, but now I wasn't sure I ever really did. In the days that followed, I was numb. I didn't eat much, didn't sleep much. I kept replaying that night, her texts, her lies. The betrayal felt like a heavy weight on my chest. I knew I needed to make a decision, whether to fight for the marriage or to walk away, to start rebuilding my life without her. I was angry at myself for trusting her so blindly, and I was furious at her for playing me like a fool. But beneath it all, there was a flicker of something else, something that told me I deserved better. I deserved honesty, respect, and someone who wouldn't cheat during our wedding reception. I also started thinking about revenge, not the petty kind, but a way to make her feel just a little of what I was feeling. I wasn't sure what that would look like yet, but I knew I couldn't just let her get away with this. She'd broken something inside me, and I needed to mend it, or at least try to. So I made a promise to myself. I'd find a way to move on, even if it meant hurting her back a little or just disconnecting completely. I didn't want to be the guy who gets played like that, and I wasn't going to let her win by making me feel small. I was hurt, yes, but I was also angry, and that anger was going to serve as my motivation to do whatever it took to get past her lies. In the days that followed, I kept my distance from Lisa, not just physically but mentally. I realized I needed a plan, and I needed to be smart about it. Confronting her again, pushing her, or even trying to get her to admit everything outright wasn't going to be enough. I needed leverage, some way to make her really feel what she'd done without just blowing up on her again. That's when I decided I had to dig deeper into her phone, her secrets, her whole life, find out if there was more I didn't see, more she was hiding. One night when she was out with her friends, I snuck into her bedroom and grabbed her phone while she was gone for a few hours. I knew it was risky, but I couldn't just let this go. I needed proof, more than just her texts. I wanted to find out if she'd been sneaking around before, if she'd been lying about everything. I went through her messages, her photos, her social media, anything I could find. I wasn't proud of it, but I couldn't trust her anymore, and I needed to see the full picture. What I found was worse than I expected. There were dozens of messages with Mark, more than I'd seen before, talking about sneaking away for weekends, plans to meet up in hotels, discussing sex in explicit detail. But what really hit me was a series of private photos Lisa had sent Mark, some of her in lingerie, some completely naked. She thought she was hiding it all, but I saw it clear as day. She'd been doing this for months, maybe longer. She'd been lying about her fidelity, lying about being faithful to me during our whole relationship. I felt sick. My stomach twisted, my fists clenched. I was furious, but also devastated. I'd given her everything, my love, my trust, and she'd been secretly screwing around behind my back. I looked at her pictures and texts, and I realized she had no respect for me, no regard for our vows. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became that she was a master manipulator, a liar who played her role as the perfect wife until she found her next thrill. That night, I didn't sleep much either. I just kept staring at her photos, her words, trying to process how someone I'd loved could be so cold and selfish. I thought about confronting her again, but honestly, I was exhausted. I felt like I'd been through a war. I'd fought the emotional battle, but now I had the physical proof. I knew I couldn't stay passive anymore. I needed to decide what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to confront her right then and there, to destroy her world the way she destroyed mine. But I knew that wouldn't be enough. I had to be smarter. So I started planning. I didn't want to just kick her out and run. I wanted something more calculated. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, to realize she couldn't just sweep this under the rug. I started researching ways to gather more evidence if needed, ways to expose her if it came to that. I wasn't going to ruin everything without proof. I wanted her to know I wasn't going to be played anymore, that I was serious about ending this sham. Deep inside, I was broken. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I let things get this far. But I also knew I couldn't stay in this toxic mess. I had to think about my future, whether I wanted to stay and forgive her or finally let go of someone who had betrayed me so completely. Honestly, part of me still hoped she'd come clean, admit everything, and maybe we could salvage whatever was left. But I also knew that might be wishful thinking. The truth was, my trust was gone, and I had to decide if I wanted to keep living with this betrayal or take control and cut my losses. The decision didn't come easily, but I knew I had to act. I couldn't keep living in this cloud of betrayal, wondering when she'd slip up again or if she'd even stop lying. I decided I needed to have one final, honest talk with her, an all-or-nothing confrontation. I wanted her to face everything she'd done to see how much I knew and maybe, just maybe, admit her guilt or plead for some kind of mercy. I was done playing the silent victim. This was my moment to make her own up. That evening, I called her into the living room. She looked surprised, maybe a little scared, but she quickly masked it with her usual bitchy attitude. "What now, Mike?" she snapped, leaning against the wall. I took a deep breath, showing her the phone with all the evidence I'd uncovered. I laid out everything: her texts, her photos, the hotel plans, her secret meetings with Mark. I told her I knew about the affair from the very beginning, that I'd seen the proof, and that I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this. Her reaction was classic Lisa. She huffed and rolled her eyes, trying to act like I was making a big deal out of nothing. "You're overreacting as usual," she shot back. "All these accusations, all these photos, it's just a bunch of crap. You're crazy, Mike. You're just jealous. Mark's just a friend. I don't know what you're talking about." But I pressed harder. I told her I wasn't stupid anymore, that I saw all the messages, the pictures, everything. I told her I knew she'd been screwing around with my best friend during our wedding reception, during what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. She kept denying, kept spinning her lies. "It was just sex," she said. "It doesn't mean anything. I didn't love him, I swear." I was stressed, I was angry, and I just needed to get this out of my system. "You don't understand how hard I've been working, how tired I am, how much I hate feeling trapped." Her words were like poison. She was trying to turn the tables, make me feel guilty for catching her. She even accused me of being controlling and insecure. But I wasn't buying it. I had the proof now, and I was finally done with her excuses. Her crying and whining didn't faze me anymore. I told her she had two choices. She could be honest and tell me what she really wanted, or she could keep lying and lose everything. I told her I was done being her fool, her pawn. I was through with the lies, the secrets, the cheating. I told her that from this moment on, I was walking away. If she wanted to stay with Mark and keep her lies, she could, but I wasn't going to be part of that anymore. My decision was final. I felt a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. Relief because I was finally taking control, heartbreak because I knew I was losing the woman I loved. Her face twisted again, trying to throw tears, trying to manipulate, trying to make me feel guilty. But I stood my ground. I told her I would pack my things and leave that night. I refused to stay in a house where I was nothing more than a fool. I told her I deserved better, that I deserved honesty and respect, and if she couldn't give that, she'd lose me forever. She tried one last time to break me down, begged, pleaded, accused me of ruining her life, but I knew I had to follow through. I didn't want to stay with a liar, a cheater, a woman who could cheat on me during our wedding reception. That night I packed up my stuff and left. It wasn't easy, far from it. I was heartbroken, angry, confused, probably all at once. But I knew it was the only way to finally take control of my life. I felt like I was walking away from so much pain, from a betrayal that cut deeper than I thought possible. As I drove away, I kept thinking about everything I'd lost: trust, love, my future with her, and I wondered if I'd ever be able to rebuild after this. The only thing I knew for sure was that I was done letting her lie to me. From now on, I'd be the one in control, even if it meant starting over completely. It's been a few weeks since I left her, and honestly, I'm still trying to put all the pieces back together. Every day feels like a roller coaster. Some moments I'm angry, some I'm just numb, and sometimes I catch myself wondering if I'll ever trust anyone again. I keep replaying everything that led up to this point, trying to understand how I didn't see it coming, how I let her manipulate me for so long. But at the same time, I realize that I can't change the past. All I can do now is move forward. Having her cheat on me during what was supposed to be our wedding day was a punch to the gut. It shattered every illusion I had about our relationship, about her, about trust itself. I still ask myself if I ever really knew her, or if I was just fooling myself all along. The worst part isn't even the cheating, it's the lies, the manipulation, how she played her role as the perfect wife while secretly sneaking around. That level of deception makes me question everything I believed in. I've started seeing a counselor, trying to work through the anger and betrayal. It's not easy. Some days I feel like I'm just going through the motions, but I know deep down I had to do this for myself. I had to remove her from my life to start healing. I also cut off all contact with her, which was necessary. I refuse to let her continue to hurt me even after I've left her behind. I realize I need to focus on my own happiness now, rebuild my confidence, and figure out what I want from life without her. Looking back, I understand a lot about myself. I was naive, yes, but I also trusted too much. I thought that honesty and love were enough to keep us together, but I was wrong. Cheaters like her don't care about those things. They only care about themselves. I've learned that you can't force someone to be faithful, and sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to walk away, even if it hurts like hell. I want anyone reading this to know that if you find yourself in a similar situation, don't be afraid to face the truth, no matter how painful it is. Protect yourself first. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and if it's broken, everything else crumbles. Don't stay just because you're afraid of being alone or because you think you can fix someone. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, rebuild your life, and find someone who values honesty and respect. For me, this has been a brutal lesson in self-respect. I'm not perfect, and I'll probably carry scars from this for a long time. But I'm determined to move on, to learn from what happened, and to never let anyone treat me like that again. I still believe in love, but now I know to be more cautious, more aware, and to never ignore the signs. Trust is something you earn, not just give away. And I'll never forget that.